Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, back working on reels that customers brought in. Today we're going to work on a left-handed Black Max 3. It's a low-profile bait caster from Abu Garcia. It's got problems, so it's not an atypical problem either. When you push the free spool release down, it's not tripping back. When you manually trip it back, the reel spins normally. So we're going to take this apart and we'll show you the free spooling mechanism and trip wires, and we'll see what happens, why this is. It's not the first time I've seen this. Usually it's a broken kick lever, but let's take this apart. We'll do a little bit of work for you, and hopefully if you have this problem, it'll show you how to correct it. So I start by removing the handle, and then we can get in and do the side plate. So the handle is held on by a little clip, and then everything on this reel, because it's a lefty, works in reverse. If you have the right-handed crank, it'll be opposite what I'm doing here, but nevertheless the inside is pretty much identical on left and right. So I've removed the handle. There's a little spring underneath that keeps the star drag from backing off completely. Now normally you would turn this counterclockwise to remove it, but again it's a left-handed reel, so it works backwards. And then we'll take the little springs off. And as you notice, I'm putting all of my pieces and parts into a parts basket to keep this reel in place so that I know where to find them when I come back. So I've pulled the ferrule and the washers off. Now there's 4 screws in the case that need to come off, and as I like to do, I'm going to put all 4 screws on the workbench to begin with, just to make sure that they're the same size. Now I know the answer to this one already, so that's probably why I'm doing this. There is a short screw in this case, and you need to take a note in terms of which one it is. Otherwise, when you go to reassemble, you will miss that. And there's the short screw. It belongs next to the level wind mechanism. So there's 3 on the face, and then there's 1 behind here. And when I remove that one behind here, that's all that's going to be left to taking off that side plate case. So excuse me. So you can see 3 screws of 1 length, the shorter screw. The shortest screw goes up on the top left-hand side opposite the level wind assembly. Okay, with that off, we can remove the side plate now. And be careful, there's 2 springs underneath here that hold the case in place. That's the 2 on the spool gear. I'm going to go pull them off. And now we're going to test this. This is your kick lever on your thumb release. That should push in and engage with a ratchet, and that's kind of what I thought. So when you kick this lever in, there's a ratchet underneath here. That ratchet should be engaging and it should not be turning now. So what's happened apparently is somebody has had this reel apart and did not properly seat the ratchet when they were putting this back together. Perhaps they took this off to change the drag or something else, but you can see that the trip ratchet is riding above the kick lever, and that's because there's a little seating that goes on here inside, and I'll show that to you just in a moment. So I'm just going to take the main gear off and the click ratchet. The ratchet is underneath. The drag is fine. So you can tell by the ratchet here, the ratchet is oblong. It's not a circular ratchet. And if you don't put that onto the oblong section here of the post, it's not going to engage. Again, we'll see that this click ratchet is down, but if you just have it riding here, it's going to ride above the click ratchet and be ineffective. So what we want to do is orient it properly, which is the shiny side out. And once you seat that properly, then we've got that on the click ratchet, and when we turn it, it will disengage the thumb. While I have this reel open, I'm just going to put a couple of drops of oil on some of the key parts here. I'm going to go put a drop on the worm gear, a little drop on this gear here, a little drop up top here, and we're just going to close this one back up. That's what the problem is. And make sure again that it seats properly on here. So somebody didn't realize that, put this reel back together, and when they put the reel back together, since it wasn't seated properly, there's no way that that can engage. So now we have it engaged. I have the main gear back on. We're going to turn it and make sure that it trips, and sure enough it does. So we'll do that again. Now we can see that the click ratchet is tripping properly. So that's all this one is. It's not a big deal, but it's something that happens somewhat common. It's more common to see that the trip lever, which is a heavy plastic piece, is broken, or the spring that controls it is broken. But in this case, this problem was caused by probably somebody doing maintenance and not realizing how the reel went back together. So this is a simple reassembly then. We simply put the two springs on after we've oiled the pieces. We take the side plate and we can put that back on at this point. Make sure that it's seated properly, and we can put a screw or two in there just to hold it so that we don't have to put a lot of pressure on there. Again, we had 3 screws that were one size and a short screw that went up on the low profile where the worm engages. The line guide. And what would happen here, if you put the big one in here, it would actually come through the case on the other side. Okay, so I've taken the tension off of that, holding it by hand. I'm going to do it one more time just to make sure that it trips. It's tripping fine now. It's doing exactly what it needs to do. So we go back, we put the ferrule in. That goes into the anti-reverse. Grab the washer. And there's a spring that goes on. Then there's the, oops, I have that washer on backwards. So this is a good point to tell you. If you don't know what you're doing, and maybe it appears that I don't know what I'm doing at the moment, take pictures along the way of the sequence that they came out, so that you know how to do them going forward. Now we'll do it right. There you go. It's a shorter washer. Now these two washers here have they're concave. They're not flat, and that's for drag tension. So you can set them face to face, which is less tension. That would be this way. You can set them opposing, which is the most tension. So you're going to play a little bit more with yours, and you can also set them where the gap is inside. So when you take these off, notice how they came off, so that you can put them back the same way. And then we have the small washer up top now. And now we can put the star drag back on. Now remember, this is left-handed, so it threads opposite what you would normally thread. You just need to make sure you get it started properly. You don't want to cross-strip these threads, then you'll wind up replacing the post. So just be patient, eventually you will catch it. And I haven't caught it yet. And you can generally tell if you've got it lined up properly. There we go. By looking to make sure that it's equidistant on this. And then if you're having a little bit of trouble with that, you can always grab a little needle nose pliers and grab the stem until you can turn it down a few more turns. Then you should be able to pick that up with the handle on the other side, or holding the tension of the spool with another device, such as the screwdriver here, as we get a little bit closer. There we go. So all these little tricks always are just kind of learned over time. and experience tells you things like what we just found out there with the piece being improperly set for the ratchet. Okay, so there we go. We got a nice turning one. We'll do it one more time just to make sure it's working. We're going to button this reel up then. So there's, as we took it off, we have 2 more case screws to put in. That's another advantage to this parts tray. You can look in there, and if you find something that is still in the parts tray, you can realize that you forgot to put it in a particular sequence. And then we have the last one, which went underneath here in the back. I'll put that one in. We've oiled the interior there. We didn't really need to make any adjustments. This one's a clean reel. I think it was probably serviced, and my guess is the owner who was trying to do the service got a little bit sideways on this one with that ratchet and just brought it in, because I noticed it's clean, it's lubed, and it's working fine otherwise. Once we put that in, again, because this is a left-handed reel, this will thread counterclockwise as opposed to clockwise. So I'll go ahead and put that on. And then all we have left then is the retaining clip and the screw that holds that in place. And we'll be able to return this to the owner and let him go do his fishing. So you have to play with this retaining clip to make sure that you're properly aligned. Generally speaking, there's an alignment that where the flat end of the nut is flat to the clip. Sometimes it doesn't quite work out that way. In this case it did. You saw me use a pin there to try and see if there was a little bit of play in the clip, which there wasn't at that point. And then this is the last piece that goes on. So what we've learned is look at the interior, have a knowledge of the reel. If you don't have a knowledge of the reel, go ahead and get the schematic. This is an Abu Black Max. You can go right onto the Abu Garcia website and you can get that for you. And I'm just going to finish this with another little drop of reel oil onto the worm gear, and we're set. So we can return this to the owner, having fixed that problem with the spool release. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please indicate a like on YouTube. If you want to see more of these, I'm constantly posting the reels that make it into my shop for repair. And if you want to see the ones that I work on a regular basis, go ahead and subscribe, and you'll see 1 or 2 of these posted a week. So again, thank you for watching this. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I wish you good fishing.